Welcome back to the Femcast, where I do my reaction videos over here on the Real Femme Sapien YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about something that I think is very sexy and romantic, and I know some of us out there think that romance is dead. If that is you, you don't have to finish this video. Seriously, just don't finish the video. We get it. You're soulless. You're heartless. For the rest of us that still have a fire within us, who want to find the opposite sex attractive and very much look forward to being in relationships with these individuals, continue to watch this. Continue to watch this. Young women, you particularly will want to watch this video because I controversially these days believe that you should marry a dangerous man. So if you like this content, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell. The first thing that comes to your mind when you hear dangerous man is, what if he's abusive? Instead of thinking, what if an aggressor, an assailant, decides to attack myself or my children? Will my husband be dangerous enough to protect all of us? We always think about the abusive. We never think about the useful that'll keep you alive, that'll keep your babies alive, that's always looking out for you, your own personal bodyguard, and that's why we need to marry dangerous men. This is also important for attraction. We like things that are very different in men as what they find very attractive in women. That's masculinity and femininity. It's a yin and a yang that works together, and if you don't believe me, you can go ahead and find some of your married friends out there who have absolutely no religious leaning, but the wife still finds herself at home anyway. This is not like a social construct and something that we have to do and we're forced and pigeonholed into. It just might be that a lot of women really like staying home to raise their children, and a lot of men might find purpose, joy, and fulfillment in providing that option to their woman. And the reason why you're going to want to marry a dangerous man is because it's sexy, it's hot. If you don't believe me and you think that gender is an absolute social construct and human sexuality is whatever we want it to be, do me a favor, go ahead and stroll through your local Ulta and go through the cologne section. It is full of hairy, jacked, masculine-looking men to sell a product. And who do you think they're selling the product to? Do you think that it's a whole lot of men shopping out there for cologne during the holiday season? Or do you think it's like wives and girlfriends that are buying this cologne for their men? These advertisements are appealing to women. Do men shop at Ulta? Do they truly? I think not. I thought of this video and this article that I wrote, which is also linked in the description down below, when I was listening to a podcast as I was doing some things around the house this week. And I came across Jordan Peterson having a discussion where young women have a challenge in discerning the difference between fearless competence and fearless recklessness. Meaning, when we see fearless competence, it's a man who can walk tall because he knows he's ready to swat down anybody that tries him that day at any point in time, fully prepared, carrying in some states, maybe he's trained in hand-to-hand combat. For you Canadians out there, maybe he's trained with a knife. I don't even know. In the comment section down below, let me know, do Canadians have knives? I have no idea. And those gentlemen can walk tall because they are proficient at not just defending themselves, but also at defending, hopefully, their woman, because what's the point, right? And their children. They're capable. There are also men who are younger, ill-equipped, who are not proficient at any sort of hand-to-hand combat or firearm training, who still walk really tall. That is out of ignorance. There is no man out there who is just ripping it in the gym, absolutely jacked, who could take on an overweight trained fighter that was equal to him in size. Yeah, actually, technique and proficiency matters. So this video is for you young women out there who can't tell the difference between what's a guy that really knows how to protect life and a guy who likes to talk like he could protect you, but he's probably a liability and he's probably gonna shoot his own butt cheek. So we're gonna talk about 4 things that make a dangerous man. But before I get into that, I want to break down why this is important, because when we're thinking about marriage, the idea is to help women to get married and stay married. I really don't see how a woman could stay married to a man who she can't stand looking at naked and isn't attracted to. When it comes to what we're looking for in men, we're often looking for a man who has good genetics, meaning we think that he's cute, we think think that he's hump. Maybe we think that he's sexy. And a guy who can provide parental investment, so more so provisioning. This is disputed. You guys can dispute it if you want. Myself and other married women, we kind of get it, especially the happily married women that I talk to frequently who have been married for 20 to 30 plus years. But when women get the baby rabies and they got to scramble to get a guy to marry them, or they're just so high anxiety that they would prefer a more demure man who is controllable because you can't control masculine men, they will sacrifice that sexiness, that hotness, that spice for a guy who's just loyal to the soil and gonna stick around and be a good boy and pay some bills. That sounds excellent until it's not. If you're in a marriage with someone that you're not attracted to as a woman, you can't hold it up for long. Okay, you get angry, you get resentful, you take it out on him. I get a lot of DMs all the time. I've been talking to married couples, men and women. I've been talking to singles, men and women for 2 years. And through all these conversations, these are some of the things that I've been able to observe and distill. That polarity is going to matter in the long term. So yeah, marry a dangerous man, but don't marry an arrogant punk who thinks that he's well trained with weapons, and don't marry a good boy either, because that is just not hot, and you just shouldn't marry people you don't want to have sex with. I know that this is controversial. I don't know why. Do they just want women's ovaries to be put in the fridge? Are we trying to deny female sexuality and desires? Is that where we're at? Women, you will have to be competitive for these men, because there's other women that are on this channel, that are on other channels, that are getting hip to the game, or women who have been raised to be wives for these particular men because their parents cared about them and put them on tip and put them on tip quick. So just so you know, you might have this fantasy of a dangerous man that you'd love to marry. However, other women also have that fantasy. That's why we're all here. You get it? All right, let's jump into the 4 things that make a man dangerous, and there will be caveats with each one. The 4 things that make a man dangerous are stature, strength, weapon proficiency, and hand-to-hand combat proficiency. And I already know what the men are thinking. If you're watching this video, you're thinking that short king spring is over. Look, man, sexual dimorphism is already on your side. The average height of a woman in the United States of America is 5'4". The average height of a man in the United States of America is 5'9". At the end of the day, women are just kind of looking for a man who's a little bit taller than them. And women are going to say on dating apps in the abstract that they want a man that is 6 foot. That's not necessarily true to life. She can say that all day long. Go look at her exes. Go look at her exes. I think they're looking for tall man energy. I think that is true because there are some men out there that want to treat being short as a handicap. That simply is unattractive on its own. Why would you compare that to a disability? It's not a disability. You're just short. There's nothing you can do about it. Understand, we're upset because women want to pretend like they can't do anything about their weight, but we're not talking about them right now. We're not doing that. But if you think about it, it's pretty understandable why a woman would want a man that's taller than her in the first place. It makes it her easier to protect. And at the extremes of height, so really tall men and really tiny women, they seem to attract each other. And there's also an advantage to women being cuter if they're smaller. It's a concept called neoteny. Basically, the more that a woman looks like a girl in a non-perverted way, she just looks adorable. We know some grown women that look adorable, even an adorable tiny old lady that doesn't even necessarily look like a girl. She's just so petite, tiny. You just want to take care of her and protect her. So yeah, definitely there are some very tiny petite women out there that are coveted. It sucks for the rest of us that are not that tiny, either in the midsection or height wise. So when we're talking about height in men, this is where confident and competent compensation is your friend. You might be a short king. However, doesn't mean that you can't figure out MMA with grappling. Also doesn't mean that you can't figure out how to be proficient with a 9mm. You can do all of these things and you can be a short king lumberjack. And I'm sure some woman out there is going to be into that. I meet men all the time that are sub 6 foot, that are jacked, and they don't have a problem with the women. And if you're going to complain about going to the gym, I don't know what to tell you. Like I said, go to the Ulta section and tell me if masculinity is a social construct, because all these colognes that are out there and advertised, they are being marketed to women, and all those guys are ripped and hot looking and masculine. Some got beards, some got tousled hair. It's still sexy, no matter how much you want to cope. It is that muscular men are more attractive than obese or lean men. Okay, moving on. That brings us to strength. A muscular man is going to be more attractive than an overweight, obese, or lean man. That's just because he has more mass. He's also got this thing called the V taper, meaning his shoulders are more broad and his waist is thin. For women, what's more attractive is considered an hourglass, but also don't freak out if you don't have an hourglass figure. These are just archetypes that have been familiar in literature and also in art. However, a man who is a gym rat and spends all day, every day in the gym, he just looks big and people are going to try him less. That sounds great unless he does get tried and he doesn't know what to do with his mass. You do need strength. Mass is important for hand-to-hand combat proficiency. Don't get me wrong, these guys are more on the muscular side on purpose for force and for strength. It just is, if you don't know how to use it, it's not that useful. You get me? There has been many a time that a super fit, super jacked guy got curb stomped by an overweight fighter that had technique on him. You don't have to believe me. There's also another video that you can check out that's going to be linked in the description that shows that. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee is not a euphemism. It is true. If you are thinking about engaging with a man who is light on the balls of his feet, might I humbly recommend that you run away as quick as you can. It's the feet, guys. It's the feet. If they're moving too quick, you need to run. Moving on to the third thing that makes a man dangerous is weapon proficiency. In the United States of America, we have the Second Amendment. Yes, amazing. Sort of. Because if you're a young woman and you can't tell the difference between fearless competence and fearless recklessness, you might think that that guy that's carrying is so much more attractive and able to protect you. Wrong. You're wrong. There's a lot that goes into handling a weapon versus simply owning a weapon. But if you're not familiar, then you're going to get swindled by these guys who think that they're tough boys and then end up shooting their butt cheek. Or worse, they could accidentally shoot you. That's not a very good thing. That's like the worst thing that could happen. So when we're talking about weapon proficiency, there's a couple of things that a man has to be competent in. He needs to have muzzle awareness, which means he only points the firearm at people he intends to say bye-bye to. If he is not trying to say bye-bye to them, he needs to not point it at anybody. It also needs to be properly holstered. Like I said, shooting the butt cheek, you guys think that's a joke. There are plenty of stories where men have actually done that. Shot their thigh, shot their foot, shot their hand. No bueno. It means that he owns a firearm. He's not competent, so that can even make him more of a liability. You're also looking at draw time. How quick can he get that weapon out of the holster? If he has to fiddle with it in his waistband, you think that's going to get an attacker in a timely fashion? I think not. Your girl's probably already going to be punched in the face on the ground, okay? And then you won't be sexy anymore to her. Or worse, you'll be punched in the face on the ground and you still won't be sexy to her. Maybe she'll run away with that guy. No, I'm kidding. Please don't do that. A man who's proficient with weapons also needs to have grip strength. So you do need to have forearm strength. You can try to avoid going to the gym as much as you want. But the reason why you need grip strength is because a lot of weapons have kickback. And if it kicks back and falls out of your hand, again, you can't help anybody not sexy. A man will also need a second and third magazine on his person. You guys call them clips sometimes. Some of you viewers here watching, it's actually called a magazine. Magazines can have a spring malfunction or a feeding malfunction, and he has to be able to quickly drop that, rectify it, and load another one underneath because you never know when that's going to happen. You're not just planning to shoot accurately, which is another point of proficiency. You're planning to be able to handle all the mishaps that can occur with a weapon. He has to be able to clear a jammed weapon or handle a misfire. And also, the man has to be accurate in hitting his target. There are a lot of men who flex with a firearm, and you go look at their shot grouping, and you can tell they really don't know what they're doing. If you're a woman who's familiar with weapons at all, most of you aren't, which is why this video is here to help you. You're welcome. The reason why firearm training is important in the long term for mate selection is because through life in a marriage, you might end up doing this thing where you make humans. And if you think your man has time to be in the dojo, in the gym, like he used to be before you had these kiddos and these little humans running around pitter-patter on the floor, you are fooling yourself. And a firearm is a great equalizer. There are plenty of men out there who are weak, short, or fat, and they were saved by a firearm. There you go. The last thing that makes a man dangerous is being proficient at hand-to-hand combat. There's tons of sports that a man can train in. Ladies, it is important for us to, when our men are training with their firearms or in the gym or in the dojo, we just let them do it. You just let them go. Don't bother him. Don't say, hey, but I miss you and I want to hang out. Ma'am, he is trying to learn how to not just save his life, but yours. And there's this added bonus where he gets to socialize with men, which is very important for men's mental health. Actually, they need to be hanging out with each other. So you just let him go. Go play in your little makeup box. Go play a video game. Hang out with your kids. Get some laundry done. Let that man leave. Let him leave and do man things, please. Some combat sports that a man can train in are going to be boxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, aikido, aiki jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, karate, and MMA. My husband personally recommends MMA with an emphasis on grappling because fighting on your feet is awesome as long as you're on your feet. And then when you're not on your feet anymore, not very awesome, probably going to get curb stomped, right? So men have to be well-rounded trained fighters. If you want to get medieval with it, you can train in kendo. It's like Fruit Ninja, but for samurais. That's a joke, guys. Please don't. That's a joke. Please understand that's a joke. I have never been in a situation where I thought, gee, you know what would be excellent is if my man showed up with a katana right now. Outside of stature, the other three criteria, such as strength, weapon proficiency, and hand-to-hand combat proficiency, those are all important because if you do have a man who is handling a weapon who protects you by carrying, he needs to be able to keep that weapon on his person. A man who can't maintain positive control over that weapon might be giving an attacker who only had his fists a 9mm to do worse things with. You got to be able to keep this stuff on your person. That's why firearm safety and handling is not really a joke. I don't recommend for you to just go out there and buy one if you don't know what you're doing with it. You know, you'd be surprised. Out here in the Midwest, actually, there are children who are trained with weapon handling proficiency, believe it or not. And so they are very safe, more so than what I've seen in some blue states out there where people just don't understand how dangerous these items are, and we need to be very well trained in handling them. Your role as a woman in a conflict, by the way, is to simply run away. That's what you need to do. Don't put yourself in there. Do not think that a criminal who's willing to lose his rights is going to spare your life as a woman. You really don't know who you're going to be dealing with. Could be a crackhead, could be a guy on PCP. He's not going to just spare your life because you're a woman, because these are people that are not even thinking clearly to begin with. You need to gain distance. You need to be your man's eyes and ears. You need to be calling authorities. You need to be looking at identifying features on attackers. Your man is not going to hate you. To be honest, your man would probably be more upset with you if you inserted yourself into a conflict, risked your life, as well as his life too, because you're just a complication. You're just in the way. You need to go. You need to call authorities. You need to get identifying information. Grab your kids too. Get out of there. In summation, dangerous men are hot. They'll keep you alive, and usually you might want to have sex with him because he's not such a good boy who just does what you say. He's a man in every sense of the word because he understands the competence that he has within his body to walk around and be fearless and protective of his women and their children. And if you think that's also attractive, let me know about it in the comment section down below. What are some attractive qualities you find in men? Ladies out there who are single and looking, or married women, what was attractive about your man that has lasted through the years? We're curious to hear all about it. I will see you guys next time. You can find the podcast I was listening to in the description, the fighting video with two jacked dudes who totally got whooped by an overweight fighter who is light on the balls of his feet. And you will also find my Substack article. Bye!